Everyone, in today's little post, I wanted to share a real life example of the transformation triad at work. Now, I've given some examples, I've talked about it, but I want to show you how I actually do it. And I want you to see exactly how simple this can and should be. So I'm using a spreadsheet. You can use whatever tool you prefer. But basically, what we do is we list out products and services. So I'm going to share a really simple example for, say, an accounting firm. Apply this to your business. And basically what I'm going to do is list the core area products, not line by line by line. So for example, in an accounting firm, you might have bookkeeping, you might have we're going to ignore audit and compliance because I don't want to get too many things. But the key is if you're doing this exercise and you have a very long list of products or services, you want to figure out how you can sort of chunk them and bring them together as a bundle so that it makes sense. So in an accounting world, you usually have bookkeeping, then you have tax. Let's be specific. Tax preparation, tax planning, and then maybe you have advisory. Now, to be clear, I would normally list out something a little more detailed than advisory because that's so abbreviated to not really be useful. But for this example, I don't need to show you 50 things. I just want to show you 4 things. So bookkeeping is highly trainable. With a little bit of training, somebody can get good at bookkeeping. So remember, our scale was from 0 to 10. 0 being it takes a long time to train, 10 being it takes a short time. I'm going to be honest with you, you can start data entry with very little training. So maybe bookkeeping would be split up into data entry and then data management, but for now I'm going to put it all together. So because I'm considering all bookkeeping as one, I'm going to have to do sort of an average, and I'm going to say it takes probably a few months to get somebody really good. So I'm going to give this an 8. If I can do it in a day, I'm going to give it a 10. Tax preparation, again, takes a few weeks. I'm going to give that maybe an 8. Actually, bookkeeping, I'm going to give it a 7 because it takes a while. Tax planning, now that takes a long, long time. You need experience, you need education, you need practice. So I'm going to give that a 0 because from a partner's perspective, a partner can do it and they've got it. So if they could bring in new partners, then yes, you could train the new partner on it on your way. But when you're bringing on a new employee, it's going to take a couple of years before they're even capable of considering it, and definitely more than that before they're good at it. Now, advisory, let's pick something really basic like ratio analysis. I can train somebody on that in a day. And by the way, the spreadsheets do most of the work. So I'm training somebody on how to do the input. So let's call that. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about the detailed thoughts and the planning and things like that. I'm just taking basic information and putting it into a program and generating a report that would go to someone else. So maybe, I guess, for fairness, advisory, financial. So financial planning, again, that's probably something you could train a junior person to do, but it would take some time, and they'd have to have some skills. So that's the trainable trait. And basically, that's pretty simple, makes life easy. Now, treasure trove. I'm sorry, but if your clients don't value it, it gets a 0. If they value it over and above, it gets a 10. So I'm sorry to the bookkeepers of the world. Most clients don't understand the power of bookkeeping. They don't understand the importance of it. So they value it at a 2. If I was scoring this, I value bookkeeping at a 10 because how do you do anything else with bad bookkeeping? bad bookkeeping leads to bad business. So I think it's important. You think it's important. The clients don't. And that's the important thing. Treasured Trove is based on the client's perception of value. Tax preparation, you keep them out of trouble with the government, so they find it a little valuable, but it doesn't impact their business. So I'm going to give it a fairly low score. Now, tax planning, clients tend to like this. They find it sexy. I'm going to give it a 10 because usually we can find ways to help them. Financial analysis in and of itself, people don't care about the analysis. What they care about is how that analysis can help them. So from a client's perspective, again, I know it's critical. Without it, we'd be lost. At best, I'm going to give it a 1. Really, truly, my gut tells me from a client's point of view, it's a 0. From our point of view, again, it's a 10, but this is from the client's point of view, because if we have the transformation triad complete, our clients are willing to pay a premium for what we offer. So we need to focus on their perception of value. Now, the output of financial planning, if somebody gets a financial report and it's going to have a big impact on their business, this is where we can get a high return by showing them great insights, great transformations. Now, that's my scoring so far. I don't want to spoil it. We'll put a formula in here. Now, the beautiful thing about bookkeeping is it's the most repetitive, recurring thing in the accounting world. So my advice to most accounting firms is bring in a couple of bookkeepers, train them well, let them do what they do, and they will support and bring your accountants great, clean files, great, clean work. So bookkeeping gets a 10 because truly it should be done weekly, maybe monthly, at the very least quarterly. And I know some businesses do it annually. I don't understand the point of that. How do you make decisions a year after the fact? So I would encourage you to look at frequent bookkeeping and really, truly just say to your clients, look, how do you make a decision without the numbers? So good bookkeeping leads to good decisions. Tax preparation, I'm going to give it a 6 because it generally that's once a year. People will come every year, so that's a good thing. So again, if it's a 1 and done, it's a 0. If it's frequent, like daily, it's going to be, or weekly or monthly, it's a 10. Tax preparation is at best a 6. Tax planning, most of the clients I've met, most of the firms I've met, they do it once in a while. It's not regular. It's definitely not recurring. I personally believe it should be annual and it should be a 10. So you pick your number, but for most accounting firms I've talked to, I'm going to put this as a 3. And the feedback I get from accountants is, I'm too busy doing tax returns. I don't have time for the planning. Well, spoiler alert, the planning is what people are willing to pay for. They'll pay you more to do the planning than to do the taxes. So one of the things I always did was I charged for the planning and the taxes are free. Or I charge for the planning and I send them away to a partner firm to do the taxes. I'd rather take the fun work, the big heavy work, than the little work. Now, financial analysis, again, it should be more frequent. In my humble opinion, it should be at least monthly. I recognize smaller clients have smaller budgets, but if they're not doing financial analysis at least quarterly, it's almost pointless. I had one accountant who did it once a year, and they said, yeah, we make all these big adjusting journal entries, and then we give them the numbers. And I'm like, well, how do they make decisions? You know, if you're doing this in December, how do they make decisions in January through November? And really, truly, what is a year's worth of numbers help them understand about the month of December? So either you or your client should be doing this frequently. And I know most people don't, but I'm going to put this in as a 7 because I believe we're all capable of it and we all should do it. And by the way, if you have the bookkeeping done, the financial analysis now is almost always done by the accounting software. So there's a reason you want to get on the cloud. Now, financial planning, the beautiful thing is this should be a quarterly thing. And again, I'm going to put what I in a perfect world I envision. I believe this is Let's give it a 9 just to be fair. Now, what we do is we sum these. And what you will notice that might surprise you is traditional tax preparation underperforms bookkeeping. So a lot of accounting firms, they focus on tax season in one period of really heavy burst. Some of the most successful accountants I know actually have eliminated tax and all they do is bookkeeping. I'm not saying you should do that. Now, to be clear, their bookkeeping was an input to their advisory. Now, if we average out the two advisories, we get a score of 19.5. So advisory is our top. Now, here's what I recommend for you. If you want to have a big impact on your business, you pick your top score. So we just do data. Let's do a little sort. And we're going to sort based on total. So you sort this, and what you do is you take your top score and you find out, and honestly, I put more weight on trainable than I do when I'm trying to save time and speed things up. I want to focus on some of the trainable, but let's look at the total score overall. And what you would do is take your advisory and you'd find ways to optimize that system. You'd create your signature system to optimize it. You'd share it and train your employees. That's the area where you're going to see the most rapid and immediate growth. And as you add revenue in that area, you can either look at getting rid of your worst clients in other areas, or you can find new clients that fit that new revenue model. So that's the transformation triad at work. My advice to you is pick your top 5, top 10, never more than 5, never more than 10. Let's say 10 is your maximum. Products or services. And again, if you have 1,000 products, pick product lines. Maybe it's hardware, maybe it's, apparel, whatever it is, and do this analysis. And what I do once I've done this analysis, I sit around and I brainstorm ways that I can make this more trainable. That's usually systems and processes. If this isn't a 10, how could I increase my client's perception of value? Usually that's workshops and training or workbooks. And then last but not least, how could I get people to come back more so that I have recurring revenue? So what you want to do is pick your highest number and try to increase each of these by 1. Again, it's subjective, but it's valuable. So that's my take on the transformation triad. I would love your feedback on it, and good luck in business. Thank you.